On that note, one of the most infamous parts of one of the Eighth Doctor events you did was War of the Daleks. And there's an awful lot of changing around of what people perceive to be the established Dalek law at that time.
Right.
How did you go about making this plan? I'm guessing you planned it out beforehand, say this is how it actually happened. How did you go about that? What made you decide upon certain decisions in that, from Dalek Invasion of Earth to Destiny, Remembrance of the Daleks? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, what happened was, Remembrance of the Daleks was broadcast, and Terry called me up, and it's one of the very few times where he had lost his temper. Normally, he was the easiest going person in the world, but when he saw Remembrance, he called me up and he said, "I never approved them blowing up Skaro. This wasn't in the original outline or anything." And he was furious, absolutely furious. And he said, that man, John Nathan Turner, that man will never have the Daleks again. He was so annoyed. I mean, he really felt like he'd been betrayed. I don't know. I talked to Ben Aronovich, and Ben assured me that the outline that he wrote had included the destruction of Skaro, and I believe them. Yeah. So I don't know whether it was just that Terry skimmed over the outline and didn't see that part, or whether JNT was pulling a fast one. I mean, we'll probably never know. But I know Terry was absolutely livid. When it came time to do War of the Daleks, I ran the idea past Terry. And Terry said, "No problems, but if you could do me a favor, bring Skaro back." And he said, "No pressure. If you can't figure out a way to do it, we don't worry." I said, No problem. I can bring Skaro back. By the way, can I kill off Davros?" And Terry thought for a moment. He said, "You can do anything you want, John. Just don't kill him too permanently." Yeah. He said, "I learned from my mistake in that first Dalek story. You don't kill off a good villain forever." Yeah. Yeah. So that was basically his suggestion for War of the Daleks. And I had no problems at all with doing this. Yes. Meant jiggling the continuity around a little bit. But, as a writer, part of the fun of being a writer is being given constraints and then seeing how you can work around them.
I can
so much Doctor Who has to thank for that, because with TARDIS they were constrained by budget, obviously, so it had to be a police box. And it's a wonder when you're able to adapt something that already exists and is beloved. It's a wonder what you're able to change, and it might surprise you how it's handled. Sometimes I wonder what Terry might think of the Paradigm Daleks, for instance. Would he have approved of the hunchback or the colours and stuff?
I don't think Terry would have liked them. One of the reasons why he wanted me to do the Dalek novels was because he and I had the same attitude towards the Daleks. And I was following what he wanted. Because it was the way I also saw it, so we had no problems there. Whereas I think he would have probably taken exception to a few of the things that have happened to the Daleks since, because they are not. He didn't like a lot of what JNT was doing with the Daleks, basically turning them into tanks. Yeah, that was. They weren't doing anything; they were just tanks running around shooting. Whereas, of course, he always thought the Daleks were far more subtle than that. Not that they wouldn't go running around shooting people, but there would be more of a motivation behind it. It wasn't just the randomized extermination.
Yeah, absolutely. They're more strategists in Terry Nation stories. They actually have a plan and they are able to do it on their own,
And for me, that was why I wanted to get rid of Davros, because I was getting really fed up with the JNT era Davros comes in, has his Daleks. The
Yeah.
Imperial Daleks come in. They have a big fight, and then whatever. Because they kept repeating that, and I was fed up with it. And I thought, if we get rid of Davros, at least semi-permanently, then we can get on to telling stories again instead of just having this endless battle.
Yeah.
So that was the concept behind War of the Daleks, was to finish that storyline off completely and get on to something else.
And they can have some of their menace back if they're united against everything else as well.
Absolutely.
If they're fighting each other, it can lead to a lot of funny moments. We were laughing at some of those stories.
Yeah, we have to.
They just shoot each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally one that basically is like, "Run, help me!" Yeah. Oh. But just to very quickly ask, because I have no confirmation on this whatsoever, but was War of the Daleks ever pitched as a TV episode? There was.
Not exactly. What happened was, I thought, having done the novelization, it would be fun to try pitching a TV story directed to the BBC. And I wrote War of the Daleks originally as a 4-part idea.
Yeah.
If you read War of the Daleks, you can see the 3 points where it was meant to break for the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had just finished writing the idea up, and I was going to run it past Terry. And that's when Terry saw Remembrance and said, that man will never have the Daleks again. So I thought, oh, well, and filed it away. But then when BBC Books came to me and asked me if I'd like to write another Doctor Who story with the Daleks in, I thought, okay, perfect opportunity, and pulled it out again. So originally, yes, it was going to be a TV outline that I was going to submit, but it never got anywhere at that stage. But I just picked it up and carried on.
Well, that's fantastic. Go on, sorry.
You learn not to dispose of any ideas if they're workable.
Yeah.
So just put them on the back burner for a while, and that's what happened here.
Absolutely. I only say because if you look up online, there's like a list of what people say are unmade episodes, and it says that War of the Daleks was pitched. So I thought I'd ask really quickly about that.
Yeah. It almost got pitched.
And then, go on, Asa.
Oh, I was just going to ask, do you take full advantage of when you write in book or comic form? Because you don't have to worry about TV budget then, so you can have great big monsters and stuff. Speaking of, go on.
It's wonderful having the freedom of a book where there's no budget constraints. I mean, if I can imagine something, it goes in the story. I don't have to worry about it. When I was writing the novels from the chase, this is what I found with Terry. Terry had written his original script, and they had been very severely rewritten by Dennis Spooner. Because Terry's original ideas would have broken the bank. I mean, BBC couldn't have afforded to film them. So Dennis had rewritten them on a level where they could actually spend the right kind of money. So when I was novelizing The Chase, I put all those bits back in again that couldn't be filmed. And it made a much more interesting story, I think, much more fun for the readers. And when I was doing War of the Daleks, my immediate thought was, let's do things that you could never do on the TV. And that's why I have this whole opening sequence of the Sol Dalek War and blowing a planet out of the sky. I mean, it would have blown the budget for Doctor Who for an entire year to put that in. But I mean, I could do it. And Terry loved it. It was one of Terry's favorite bits, the idea that the Sals are on their way to becoming the Daleks. They're becoming what they hate. And Terry liked that concept. So really fun.
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
sometimes on Doctor Who, a story might be hampered by a bit of soapy drama that it's got to be there because we've got to save a bit of money. There's some Dalek stories where it's like, okay, human scene, we just got to skip past this. Yeah, I'm going to feel sorry for you when you're dead. Absolutely. I'm not going to cheer. Go on, Flem.
I was going to say, I feel like the Tharls are quite interesting characters in themselves, and the fact we haven't seen them in quite a while, be it on TV or in books. I don't think they've even been used in books in about 10, 15 years. So I'd be very interested to see them in the show again, you know?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I was concerned, the Tharls were an essential part of Dalek history.
Yeah.
So bringing them back made perfect sense to me, especially after the only other appearance was in Planet of the Daleks. Well, Genesis as well, but that's back on Skaro. But in Planet of the Daleks, we have them, and they're hunting the Daleks. And I thought, well, why wouldn't they carry on? They're like, in many ways, they were kind of similar to the Jewish Secret Service hunting down Nazis. Yeah. Except that the Nazis were hiding and the Daleks didn't bother to hide. I mean, but the whole concept was, you know, you're going after your enemy. And I liked that whole thing, which is why I kept, you know, putting it in.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely important to the mythos. When I was a kid and I had New Who only and didn't know much about the classic series, I would remember in annuals where they'd explain the Dalek origin. I just remember, what are the Thals? How come they're not in the show? What? It turns out there's all sorts.